This is Tom Clark at Unfurled TV. My question to Democrats, especially those on the left that consider themselves to be liberal, my question is this: what is it about racism that you don't like? For me, I don't like it for a couple of reasons. One, it's just not just. Individuals should be judged by their ideas and actions, not the color of their skin. Two, I don't like racism because it's nasty and divisive. It can easily lead to violence. So my question to the Democrats, to the liberal Democrats, do you feel the same? Or are you against racism for some other reason? Sincerely, I want to know why is it that racism is wrong? I think that everybody needs to think about it and answer that question. Because if the major part of racism being wrong is that you want people to get along with each other and love each other, we're on the same side. So if somebody's being a racist and they're hiding it behind some sort of fancy language or trickery or whatever you want to call it, if they're racist and they're trying to hide it, you still don't like it, right? Why don't you like it? Well, because they're still being divisive and they're breaching the peace. This could lead to violence, right? Isn't that the core reason? I mean, if there's a different reason, let me know, please. So if you're using some obscure trick to hide your racism or whatever you're doing there, it's still not good. You're still not being harmonious with society. So you're not going to like it. Isn't that why you liberals and me, myself, a libertarian, we're scornful of this thing called dog whistling? Isn't that the reason why you and I don't like those sorts of things? And if somebody is trying to gin up, cause racial tensions, that's bad, right? We agree. Totally agree. Well, not only am I a libertarian, I have a lot of conservative leanings. Right? There's a lot that connects libertarians and conservatives. And I travel around in liberal circles and I travel around in conservative circles. And I tell you that racism is not liked in either circle, except in the Democratic side of things. You'll run into people that aren't liberals, they're progressives, and they think it's okay to be, gin up tension between the races so long as they're making white folk look bad for some reason. But other than that, no matter what circle you're in, I travel in all of them, people do not like dog whistling. They don't like racism. All right? It doesn't matter if you're a libertarian. It doesn't matter if you're a Democrat. It doesn't matter if you're a Republican. By and large, the vast majority of people in each of those circles is not a racist. Well, a couple of weeks ago, Ron DeSantis, a Republican, and Andrew Gillum, a Democrat, they both won their primaries to become Florida's next governor. Now, in an interview about the primary wins, Ron DeSantis used the term monkey up. Now, some are saying that he was intentionally appealing to racists when he used that term, and others are saying that he was simply describing how socialism destroys economies. All of the media went nuts over this issue for about 2 days. And we're going to get into some samples of that coverage. But first, I want to look at the statement itself in context. So let's play that clip.
He is an articulate spokesman for those far left views, and he's a charismatic candidate. And, I watched those Democrat debates. None of that was my cup of tea, but I mean, he performed better than the other people there. So we've got to work hard to make sure that we continue Florida going in a good direction. Let's build off the success we've had on Governor Scott. The last thing we need to do is to monkey this up by trying to embrace a socialist agenda with huge tax increases and bankrupting the state. That is not going to work. That's not going to be good for Florida. So I'm going to fight for what I believe in, because I think I'm the guy who can really lead Florida in a good direction.
All right, that's the context. And now let's go over some of the coverage. First, we're going to look at NBC's Chuck Todd and former GOP Chairman Michael Steele. They chime in on the issue. Now, Michael Steele, last I knew, was a Republican, and Chuck Todd, I think it's pretty obvious that he's on the left somewhere. I don't know if he's a liberal or a progressive, but he's on the left. All right, so let's go through this.
I want to talk about the DeSantis monkey comment here in a minute. Why didn't he get the benefit of the doubt, Michael?
Why didn't DeSantis get the benefit of the doubt?
The assumption was that he didn't misspeak, that it was 100% a racial dog whistle.
Why?
Is it because he's connected to Trump? He didn't get the benefit of the doubt from many people, including Fox News.
It's not because he's connected to Trump. It's because it's how white folks talk about black men who are successful.
Okay, here's my first question, especially if you are white folk, as Mr. Steele suggests. Do you talk about successful black men as monkeys? Because like I said, I've been in all three circles: Libertarian circle, Democratic circle, Republican circle, and I don't know these people. Now, I'm on social media, and indeed, there's nasty people that say that and mean to dehumanize black people by comparing them to monkeys. That happens. So yes, it's definitely used in that way by some people. But my question to you is, do you associate with those people? Do you think Republicans associate with those people? Do you think Democrats associate with those people? Do you think Libertarians associate with those people? Or do you think they tend to disassociate with those types of people? All right. So again, my question is, do you, in your circle of friends, talk about black men as monkeys? If you don't do that in your circle of friends and on your side of the aisle, why do you think that the other political entities in the United States are racist? Why do you think they do that sort of thing? I don't assume that of you guys. I would never assume that. I don't do that. And not only that, I don't associate with people like that. If you're a white liberal, I assume that you don't use that terminology, you don't think that way, and you don't associate with people that are repugnant in that way. If you there on the other side of this camera lens, if you use the word or term monkey up or monkey business or monkey around, if you used any of those kind of terminology, I would assume that you're talking about messing things up or messing with things. Some sort of shenanigans. You're talking about some sort of shenanigans going on, and you probably want to draw attention to it so that, people will stop, with the shenanigans. All right. That's what I would assume. So if you use one of those terms, I'm not going to conclude that there's racism there unless it's damn obvious. If you're racist, yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and engage you on that level. Either ignore you or call you out on it or whatever, or file it away in my file cabinet as racism. But I'm not gonna, if I don't know that, I'm not gonna jump in there and elevate this into a racist incident unless I'm damn sure it's one. Because why create a racial incident if there is not one? It doesn't make any sense. As a Democrat and as a liberal, do you at least try to assume the best about a person? Or only when that person is a Democrat do you assume the best about him? Because to me, Steele here is a Republican, or at least he used to be anyway, and he's being 10 times more racially charged here than DeSantis. All right, think about it. DeSantis is plainly and on the face there, he's talking about the possibility of social ideas messing up the Florida economy. And Steele, in contrast, Steele just labeled all white folk as racist by saying that all white folk, they think of successful black men as monkeys, basically. And then he uses that racial analogy to to personally attack DeSantis's character for no good reason that I can see. Isn't that what happened? If that's not what you saw, if you saw something different, let me know. But let's just go ahead and compare the two statements. I'll play the clips again.
So we've got to work hard to make sure that we continue Florida going in a good direction. Let's build off the success we've had on Governor Scott. The last thing we need to do is to monkey this up by trying to embrace a socialist agenda with huge tax increases and bankrupting the state.
He didn't get the benefit out for many people, including Fox News.
Because he's connected to Trump. It's because it's how white folks talk about black men who are successful.
Again, Steele paints not only DeSantis, but all white folks as hateful of successful black men. You know, I don't like that. But why don't I like it? Well, one, it's not true, therefore it's not just. And two, it divides the American people for no good reason. It causes this divisiveness. The divisiveness turns into vitriol, and then it can lead to violence. But hey, you're the Democrat. You tell me how this Republican, Michael Steele, who said racially charged things, is not being racially divisive. And how the other Republican here, in this case, DeSantis, who criticized socialism, is the one being purposefully and racially divisive. I would love that to be explained in a way that makes sense, because I don't understand where so much of the media went with this. Why it was covered so heavily as if DeSantis had done anything wrong but state his position against socialism. Well, let's see if Mr. Steele can explain this for us.
Let's hear the whole thing, just so people can hear it. I think it's important, because I want to hear. Do we have the part of? I hope we have we have a longer version of the bite that gets at exactly what you're saying here. Here it is.
He is an articulate spokesman for those far left views, and he's a charismatic candidate. And, I watched those Democrat debates. None of that was my cup of tea. But, he performed better than the other people there. So we've got to work hard.
Okay, just to be clear, Ron DeSantis just complimented his opponent, Andrew Gillum. And how did he go about doing that? Basically, he said he watched the Democratic debates down there in Florida, and that Mr. Gillum was charismatic and whooped the pants off the other candidates by being articulate and being a good articulator of the socialism idea, the ideas of socialism. He did that better than anybody else in the field of Democratic candidates that they had. So let's really hone in on that, okay? Let's play it again. And you tell me, please, you tell me. I'm sorry, I know I get animated, right? I'm supposed to be calm. But you tell me whether or not Mr. DeSantis is being complimentary towards the man, Andrew Gillum, but critical and really only critical about the socialist platform that Gillum promotes. That it's socialism that DeSantis opposes. That's what I say. But you will listen to it together, and then you tell me.
He is an articulate spokesman for those far left views, and he's a charismatic candidate. And, I watched those Democrat debates. None of that was my cup of tea. But, he performed better than the other people there. So we've got to work hard.
If that sounds like a personal attack as to Mr. Gillum's race, or it's a criticism of an ideology, you tell me.
To make sure that we continue Florida going in a good direction, let's build off the success we've had on Governor Scott. The last thing we need to do is to monkey this up by trying to embrace a socialist agenda with huge tax increases and bankrupting the state. That is not going to work. That's not going to be good for Florida. So I'm going to fight for what I believe in, because I think I'm the guy who can really lead Florida in a good direction.
What'd you hear?
I heard that he's articulate. He performs well. He's checking off those boxes. Why do you have to describe him that way?
I don't know where this is coming from. Truly don't. Okay, so basically, DeSantis says that Gillum whooped the opposition because he was articulate and performed well. So why did he have to use those terms? Well, he didn't have to use those terms, especially, but they were probably apt. But I just don't know what rock that Mr. Steele crawled out from under here recently. But in the real world, for all of my life, that's what we call sportsmanship. It's like when one quarterback talks about another quarterback before an upcoming Super Bowl or another team. You expect them to say, "Oh, well, they're a good team. He's a good player, but we're going to beat him because what we got over here, it's just better. We got, we worked really hard all year, and we got better, a better this or that or whatever." You say something nice about your opponent because it helps create civility. People like to see sportsmanship. So you do respect the other side when you play sports a lot of the times. I mean, maybe there's some players that don't, but a lot of players truly respect the people on the other side of the line. And you like to point out the things that they do well. You don't want them to win, but you are perfectly happy to say nice things about your opponents. That's what I heard, but you're the liberal, you're the Democrat, so I'd like to know what you heard.
What makes him articulate?
Yeah, what makes him articulate? Chuck, you are an articulate man. I mean, and you perform well. Mm-hmm. Now, that says one thing, but when you...
Doesn't happen to a lot of white candidates.
Doesn't happen to a lot of white candidates.
It doesn't. It doesn't happen to a lot of white candidates. Really? I've been watching elections for a long time, and it is customary, absolutely customary, for candidates to say nice things about each other after the campaign, and used to be during the campaign. But we don't see that so much in modern times. But we still see that. Didn't Hillary say something nice about Trump? And didn't Trump say something nice about Hillary after the last election? And tried to be sportsmanlike about the whole situation. So to say that this never happens to white candidates is pure made up fantasy land. It's made up. And it's only made up because of the mainstream media and people putting this garbage into our heads. If anybody looks at how candidates treat each other after a campaign, after a hard campaign, they know this is how they act, generally speaking. Once in a while, you get somebody that's really got sour grapes, and you could go back through the mainstream media and see how many times they've called out people for not being gracious winners and losers. They do it all the time. Is this ringing a bell for you folks? Come on. This is a primary, and it's a little bit different because you're going to be facing an opponent. And so on a primary night like they had, you could go one or two ways as a candidate. You could be dismissive and maybe even a little bit nasty to your opponent. Maybe folks are used to that, but I'm also used to seeing people saying something good about the other side, and then just like, and we're going to beat them because we're still got the better ideas or whatever. It doesn't hurt you to say something nice about your opponent and then say that you're going to beat them. A lot of people like that, appreciate that. That if he was dog whistling DeSantis, he was dog whistling to people that like politics to be, hard fought but civil in the end. That was the dog whistle I saw. Think of it this way. Aren't you, as a Democrat and a liberal, upset with Donald Trump in part because at least it's being reported in the mainstream media that he doesn't always display sportsmanship like that was displayed in here. For example, Donald Trump doesn't act nice like you saw Ron DeSantis act. So that's one of the reasons that you don't like him, or am I wrong? to me, as an outsider, Republicans are damned if they do, like DeSantis here says something nice about his opponent, and they're damned if they don't, and they say something mean about their opponent. The mainstream media treats them like that. The Democrats treat them like that. My question is, do liberals treat Republicans always like that? Are you always going to treat Republicans like that? Damned if they do and damned if they don't. As far as I'm concerned, DeSantis proffered some genuine respect to Gillum, and the Democrats and the mainstream media turned it into an issue designed to fire up racial tension. That's how it looks to me anyway. How else could you possibly interpret this upside down world where the people that are creating the racial tension are the ones pretending that they know that someone else is a racist SOB without a speck of real evidence to show this? So the question that Michael Steele posed is, why would DeSantis say, that Andrew Gillum was articulate and performed well? I mean, unless he's being racist, of course. Well, what if theoretically speaking, you had Democratic socialists that were candidates that were inarticulate and did not perform well? I mean, could he possibly be comparing Andrew Gillum's performance to another recent darling of the press's performance? Let's look.
The benefit of capitalism is that you engage in voluntary trade, and that because it creates value, it is the system that, unlike all the others, has lifted more people out of poverty over the course of human history than any other system.
Well, so I think that those things that you talk about, that you discuss, are part of the course of human evolution. And so I would hope that the most recent economic system, our current economic system, is the one that is most beneficial for everyday people. But what we're also starting to see is that, first of all, I think that when we talk about socialist or especially democratically socialist economies, first of all, they're done with the full input of everybody. You vote. It's democratic. So if something is not a good idea, it doesn't get voted for, ideally.
So there you saw another so-called rising star, Democrat, socialist, and look how inarticulate she was. Well, in my opinion, she was anyway. Maybe you think that was she was very articulate in explaining how socialism is better than capitalism. I didn't see it. Look, I'm not articulate myself. I don't think I could do better than she is, but I don't call myself articulate. I'm not going to call her articulate, but maybe this Gillum, I haven't seen him very much. I can't stand to watch the race baiting SOB hardly, but maybe he is very articulate, and evidently he performed well because he did win the primary. So let's just go over this a little bit. This Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, I think that's how you pronounce all of that. She's a member of the Democratic Socialists of America and a candidate to the House of Representatives. Gillum, I think, is also a Democrat Socialist of America member. I'm not sure about that, but I think he is. He definitely is espousing their ideas. So they both have ideas from the same camp anyway. And do you think that she articulated this very well? I just don't think she did. And she's been in the media tripping over her own tongue for a couple of months on a whole host of issues. Not only this one, but the main one in play here. And she is a big star in the media right now, and a big star for democratic socialism. And it's big news. And I think Ron DeSantis, he was comparing Mr. Gillum to others like Miss Ocasio-Cortez here, maybe not her specifically, but others that, are unable to explain how socialism is supposedly better than capitalism. If that's the case, you would absolutely say he's very articulate and he performs well. I mean, that's exactly a good compliment for somebody that could do that. Anyway, I expect that if DeSantis had been up against Miss Ocasio-Cortez here, I think he would have come up with a different compliment for her. It wouldn't have been the same. It would have been, I don't know, energetic comes to mind. And so it's like somebody like, is Michael Steele going to get on Meet the Press with Chuck Todd and go, oh, why did he say energetic? You know, I'm not even sure what it is. She Puerto Rican or something, Puerto Rican descent or something like that. I don't know. She's an ethnic minority of some descent. So what is he doing? Is he dog whistling? Only Puerto Ricans, they're energetic and they breed like rabbits. What in the hell are you talking about? He's just saying that she's bubbly. She's got lots of energy. Maybe you would say he's passionate, and then it'll be like, oh, Latinos, they're passionate and they're all emotional and they're all, no, he's just saying that she's a worthy human being and she's got some ideals and she holds firmly to them. Why do you make it about race? It's crazy. Anyway, DeSantis basically just saying that socialism is just a bad idea for Florida. I don't know how that makes you a racist, okay? If you're a Democrat on the left, I'd really like to know what you think. How is DeSantis being a racist, okay? How?
But here's the rub. Who uses the term monkey things up? I mean, to be honest, I know about a monkey wrench. I heard of don't monkey around, but I've never heard that term used that.
So you're not giving the benefit of doubt?
No, I'm not, because that came from that space that says, to that audience that he was talking to, that Fox audience, which is why Fox's response is so important.
It's fascinating.
That they pushed back on that, was that this is in the land of Trump. Yeah, I took the train, the Trump train to stupid land, and I'm going in, and here we are.
So Steele is referring to Fox News buying into this ridiculous narrative that the word monkey as, I don't know, an adjective or an adverb or however it's being used, is always racially charged. That's just fantasy land. And I have to think that Fox either they spoke out of misplaced white guilt or they just didn't want to be targeted as being the racist news network. I mean, gee, in a society that's always trying to pin the racism badge of dishonor on anybody that's on the right, you can't hardly blame them for, like trying to disavow, like, we don't condone racism. Well, no crap. Nobody does. So what the hell? I don't even know what their statement was, but to me, it just looked like they were doing some sort of damage control. But there's just no indication here that I can see that DeSantis is racist. If you got the goods, let's see it, and I'll side for you. But I want to see some evidence of it. A little bit of evidence. A little bit of evidence would be nice rather than no evidence. Don't you agree? Come on. Another thing I want to talk about is I personally know Native Americans that voted for Trump. And it's quite clear that a lot of blacks and Hispanics voted for him too. But I want you to listen to how that clip ended.
To that audience that he was talking to, that Fox audience, which is why Fox's response is so important.
It's fascinating.
That they pushed back on that, was that this is in the land of Trump. Yeah, I took the train, the Trump train to stupid land, and I'm going in, and here we are.
I don't quite know what to say about this. Mr. Steele has, I don't know, probably been called an Uncle Tom 100,000 times for being a Republican. He should know race baiting when he sees it, but no, not in this context for some reason. I'm guessing that he has Trump derangement syndrome. So anyone that supports Trump in his eyes is going to be a stupid racist. Evidently, minorities that supported President and Ron DeSantis are racist and stupid and on the Trump stupid train. Here, Michael Steele, a former GOP chairman, is basically ignoring minorities that support Trump. I mean, that was his shtick. You think being black is a minority? Try being a black Republican prior to Kanye West coming out. Michael Steele should know this. There are plenty of blacks who do not think that Ron DeSantis is or was being racist. If you don't believe me, go look up some black YouTubers. I'll give you a few names. Candace Owens comes to mind, Anthony Brian Logan, Mike Nificent, Jericho Green, Kevin from Kevin's Corner, some black guy, that's his YouTube handle, Brandon Tatum. How about Diamond and Silk, for instance? So I'll bet you $100, if it's not illegal, I'll bet you $100 that every one of them doesn't, every single one of those guys, and I don't know, I've seen a couple videos from them, but I haven't seen videos from all of them. But I'll bet you all of them don't think that Ron DeSantis is racist or was being dog whistling right there. Why don't they think he was being a racist? Well, I don't know. Maybe it's because these folks, they're supporters of Donald Trump and they don't have Trump derangement syndrome. Look, I'm not a big Trump supporter. I'm not. I wanted Ted Cruz to win the nomination and the presidency. Okay. Rand Paul would have been better in my mind. Evidently, Michael Steele, he can't see that people aren't racist anymore because he doesn't like Donald Trump. That's how this libertarian sees it anyway. The media and the political opponents of Donald Trump or the Republican Party, they've always used race, and they're going to continue to use race for the purposes of gaining power. And this, my friends, my liberal friends, what is more despicable? There's precious few things more despicable than causing strife between people for the purposes of gaining power, especially race tensions. To gain power so that you can be voted into office, you're willing to put people at war with each other? What kind of sad state of affairs we are in when liberals will not stand up against this. As a liberal, aren't you ashamed of the Democratic Party and the mainstream media, the guys that are in your camp? Aren't you ashamed of them for acting this way? So let me ask you this. As a liberal, what is your end game? Is it that taxing people is so important to you that you're willing to sit there silently by while race baiters on your side of the aisle are going after people and destroying their reputations? You want social programs to be increased, and you want taxes to be increased. Therefore, it's perfectly okay for people to be demonized, individuals to be demonized, and in that process, races dislike each other more. That's perfectly a tactic that's okay with you. I don't understand that. I really don't. Can't you just win your argument without ginning up minorities to hate white people and then watch the societal disharmony grow like a weed? Can't you say you just want more, whatever it is? I don't know, medical treatment as a statutory right under U.S. law, whatever it is, and win or lose, gracefully accept what happens, and then next election make your arguments again, and try to get the vote out without it having to devolve into this race baiting. Is that your best argument? I don't know. To me, it seems like you've already won. We've already got. Just think about it. Libertarians don't want government involved in medicine in any way, shape, or form. If we did, then we'd be liberals. All right. But we're not. We're libertarians, and to us, government is not the answer. Nevertheless, in the U.S., we have Medicare, Medicaid, laws that force hospitals to treat the indigent at taxpayer expense. We now have the federal government running the socialized insurance program and the practice of medicine through the Affordable Care Act. Do you see libertarians race baiting and shamefully acting like this? Ever? No, we've lost every single battle that can be lost, and we don't stoop to this kind of behavior. Playing on people's group ethnic prejudices. It's shameful. So I'm just asking you, don't you think it's about time that the liberals stand up against race baiting? You want to talk about what's deplorable? If anything ever could be deplorable, it's this race baiting, and liberals are in relative silence about it. Anyway, let's look at the coverage elsewhere. We'll go to CNN, Andrew Cuomo interviewing the Democratic candidate himself.
He was obviously talking about Florida not making the wrong decision to embrace the socialist policies that Gillum espouses. To characterize it as anything else is absurd. You disagree?
Well, I look, I don't know the phrase.
Okay. I don't believe this man. He's never heard monkey up. He can't figure out what that means. He has to assume that it's racist. Well, here's a couple of folks that you might expect him to have listened to or paid attention to in the past. And guess what?
Mr. Milosevic, in no uncertain terms, don't monkey around with this one.
It's not as if it's just Republicans who have monkeyed around with elections in the past. Sometimes Democrats have too.
Now, I made another video called Monkey Politics, so go check that out. In that example, there are 17 other examples of dinos and some rhinos using the word monkey. It's always in the context that monkeys are mischievous and they mess things up. That's how the term is used, unless you're referring actually to monkeys. Monkey something up? I've heard that all my life, and it's never been a racial term to the best of my knowledge. I've never seen it used that way. Yeah, maybe it's not as common as monkey around or monkey business, but it's all pretty much the same. And for this gubernatorial candidate to stoop to this despicable race baiting, it's just sad. And I wish he would have took the high road and done the right thing here, but or his own supporters would have called him out on it. But they just can't. They just can't do the right thing. It's sad, and it's time for this stuff to stop. Please, as a liberal, can you at least agree with me on that? Moving on. So frustrating.
Looking at the whole clip, I think he was clear about what he meant. He understood the dog whistle that he was blowing. And I understand that he intends to speak to a particular part of the base to incite them. Right. But the truth is I think there are a majority of us who disagree with that brand of politics.
Okay. Who is trying to incite who here? Honestly, is this man, Mr. Gillum, isn't he trying to sow racial division in order to incite his base? Or racial tensions, anyway. If that's not the definition of dog whistling, well, maybe it should be. Mr. Gillum, he's fueling racial tensions by signaling to his base to get all up in arms about a compliment that was paid to him. Talk about someone being despicable. You tell me, my liberal friends, isn't that what you saw? Please rewind it. Isn't that what you just saw?
Monkey this out. That's what folks are jumping on. So the Florida Democratic Party responding with this. It is disgusting that Ron DeSantis is launching his general election campaign with racist dog whistles. The DeSantis campaign firing back. Ron DeSantis was obviously talking about Florida not making the wrong decision to embrace the socialist policies that Andrew Gillum espouses. To characterize it as anything else is absurd. So let's go there.
What is so unfortunate about what Congressman DeSantis did is he started his campaign the same way Donald Trump did, right? He started by trafficking in racism and otherizing Andrew, who is true to the form all the way down to the toes of Floridian. So he could have just said, I can't wait to have this competition to talk about policy.
All right, I don't know that lady's name, but she's a Democratic supporter on CNN. But you tell me this. Was DeSantis starting off his campaign by being a dog whistler? By being racist? Or did DeSantis start it off by complimenting his opponent's abilities and successes and basically say DeSantis is going to focus on the policy differences between the two, and that was how he was going to defeat his skilled opponent? You tell me, was he dog whistling like she alleges, or was he going after the policy like she says she wished he had done? You're the liberal. You tell me, am I right or wrong? Because to me, it's clearly the latter. It's not even a close call. It's not even close. It's not even in the realm of possibility. It's not even in the realm of possibility. And yet, this is the news cycle for 2 days. All right, let's just check out a quick survey of the coverage from other channels here. And you tell me what you think. Is the left-wing coverage more accurate, or is the right-wing coverage?
Florida's Republican nominee for governor is under fire for a remark that Democrats describe as racially charged.
It was Senator McCain before he died who said, "I'd like to see us recover our sense that we are more alike than different." But tonight, hear outrage over what was said today by the Republican candidate for governor in Florida about his African-American opponent. Republican Congressman Ron DeSantis, heavily backed by President Trump, and his choice of words today. An anchor on Fox News later saying, "We don't condone this kind of language." His opponent, Tallahassee Mayor Andrew Gillum, responding tonight. Both candidates having just won primaries last night, and already tonight the firestorm and accusations of racism.
Did you hear that? Let's be clear. That was a white Republican nominee for governor using the word monkey when talking about his black opponent for office. Monkey it up. Let's listen to that one more time.
The last thing we need to do is to monkey this up by trying to embrace a socialist agenda.
Okay, a spokesperson for DeSantis tells NBC News that DeSantis' comment, quote, had nothing to do with race or anything like that, and that it's something DeSantis says frequently to express something that was messed up or not done right.
Okay, so Gillum obviously, unfortunately, did not take the high road. But it's just simple English. Can we pay attention to the sentence structure here? If you're looking to what monkey this up is talking about, the subject is not Gillum, it's socialist agenda. Mm-hmm. Can we at least speak English here and look at it as normal thinking, feeling adults? No, we can't.
No,
I
think
quite
clearly the answer is no.
It's no.
And I know on the outrage side of social media, one of the big Twitter centers last night talked about that DeSantis should go on TV tomorrow and say, "I'm sorry for saying monkey. I meant to say we shouldn't F the country up with this socialism crap."
There you go. So that started off with a kind of a neutral tone to it, but it quickly went to condemning just the Republican. If you look at the second clip in that series, there's nobody here is saying that Gillum's involved in race baiting, and he quite obviously is. It's just obvious. So the only media that is even close to correct on framing this as a rational human being is the right-wing media. In this case, I picked out a clip from The Blaze. But the right doesn't want race wars. The right doesn't want to hold minorities down. The right wants everybody to be treated equally and fairly under the law, and people to be civil and nice to each other, recognizing that society's not perfect, and in this country at least, you have the right to free speech and be offensive if you want. But the right is not racist because they believe in free speech, okay? You're a liberal. You probably believe in free speech. If you don't believe in free speech, then you're probably a progressive, not a liberal. But if you believe in free speech, you're not racist because of that. If somebody says somebody's black and then they say something bad against white people, you don't want their freedom of speech taken away from them, right? I don't. You may not like it. I don't like it. I don't like it the other way around. If they're saying it because they truly have distaste in their heart for the other race, that's just sad. And The Blaze, they're certainly biased towards conservatives and Republicans, but the thing is that it's actually a pretty fair analysis of what happened. And this is fairly consistent in the right-wing media. You'll get a lot of fair and consistent, at least fair, coverage. Now, I'm not saying that the Blaze or any other outlet like Breitbart, that they're always being fair. That doesn't happen. But in this case, and in a lot of cases, the right-wing media presents things a lot more fairly. And I think maybe that's some food for thought there. But again, my overall question to liberals is, are you trusting the mainstream media on these racial topics? Can you trust them when this is how they act over a 2-day news cycle over this harmless little statement, giving it prime time coverage when it's nothing? It's nothing but a Republican being nice. And they're reporting it as if it possibly could be racism. That's the best that they can report it. But most of them didn't report it like that. Oh yeah, certainly there's some racism. There's some dog whistling going in there. If you just watch the coverage, you'll just see that, they never call Gillum out, or at least I never saw any of them call Gillum out for what was clearly race baiting. Why? Well, because he's a liberal, he's a Democrat, and the mainstream media will always paint the Republican bad if they any way possibly can, or the conservative. They always will. And the Democrat or the progressive, they will always be painted in this glorified higher moral plane than the other person, even when the facts are the exact opposite of what occurred. And that's why people call all of the mainstream media now fake news. Now, you may not call it that, but the people on the right see this so clearly. Libertarians see this so clearly. A lot of liberals see this clearly. And the only people that don't seem to see it are the people that refuse to listen to the other side. Just study this case, a couple more times if you don't believe me. Challenge me on it. Let's have a debate on let's just stick with this one right here, And then once you can finally see that, what is the media doing this for? Are they doing it for ratings? Maybe. Partially, I think. But there's something else they're doing it for. Is it because they're just partisans? Maybe, kinda, but they're not the partisan that you think they are. They are progressives and corporatists. And I'm going to make a video about that, but it's not going to be a very good video for you, I don't think, unless you can understand. Maybe you don't agree with me, but you can at least understand why I'm asking liberals these questions. All right. If you can understand where I'm coming from, at least, then this other video, it may not be news to you, but it's going to bring it home, hopefully in a way that really helps you understand that the right and libertarians, we're not seeing things as a conspiracy nuts. We're seeing things for how things play out. And you're going to find out that we agree on the right and the libertarians agree with people on the left way more than we're given credit for. Way more. But they don't want to hear from us. They don't want us to be popular because there's something about the right and libertarians that the other side just will not allow. So I'm going to finish my video off by playing a little clip from a guy on the left here that should demonstrate to you how liberals look to me, and a lot of people look to me when they absolutely refuse to treat conservatives and Republicans as decent human beings. This is what the people on the left that are make up crap about people on the right. This is how you look to me. Now, I'm just going to show a clip of it. Go watch the whole video. It gets even worse.
And let's build off the success we've had on Governor Scott. The last thing we need to do is to monkey this up by trying to embrace a socialist agenda. Monkey this up, monkey this up, monkey this up.
Saying monkey this up totally isn't a racist dog whistle. I use it as a regular turn of phrase all the time. I'm still getting demonetized? Why is YouTube always monkeying this up?
That's all I have for now. Take care.